Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi again. Following the previous presentation about the first two topics in the basic concept of open economy, I continue the explanation on the last topic. Now let's talk about the price in an open trade, the exchange rate. We have these two kinds of exchange rate. What's the difference? From the definition here, it should be clear that nominal exchange rate is a relative price of two currencies, while real exchange rate is a relative price of traded goods and services. Real exchange rate is calculated as follows. Suppose we have this information. US is the domestic economy in this example. We have prices of Big Mac in two countries as well as the nominal exchange rate. Real exchange rate is formulated as nominal exchange rate times domestic price per foreign price. From given information, then we're gonna have this real exchange rate. The resulting number shows the relative price of Big Mac in US and Indonesia. It is more expensive in US. To answer question 2 and 3, I may inform you this. Both nominal and real exchange rate are determined in the market. There are demand for and supply of currency. Real exchange rate is the price of real variable. So yes, nominal exchange rate, price and domestic price and foreign price are used in RER or real exchange rate calculation, but they are not the factors affecting real exchange rate. As it would be revealed in chapter 32, real exchange rate value depends on change in real variables like net export and the availability of currency to be exchanged in the form of capital flow. When net export and net capital outflow remains the same, change in P and P start ratio usually is cancelled out by the change in nominal exchange rate since they move together, thus leaving real exchange rate unaffected. Will net export and net capital outflow affect nominal exchange rate? Yes, they will, but in the long run, nominal exchange rate movement is more reflecting the movement of domestic and foreign prices as suggested by the purchasing power parity theory. So the answer for question 3 is clear. The answer is yes, domestic price does affect nominal exchange rate, and especially in the long run, it becomes even clearer. Lastly, how about the impact of nominal exchange rate to GDP? We know that openness to trade gives us new component in GDP, namely the net export. The net export, however, is affected by real exchange rate, the relative price of goods and services, not merely E or nominal exchange rate. Change in nominal exchange rate, as explained earlier, may not affect real exchange rate if the change just results from change in P per P start that's nothing to do with the international trade. Answer to question 5 was just the same with my last explanation. Higher real exchange rate will affect the relative price of tradable goods and services. Exported goods are now more expensive, while imported goods are now cheaper. So there will be less export and higher import, resulting in lower net export. As for question 6, first we have to understand that real exchange rate is simply a measurement used to analyze or make decisions in an open economy, similar to other measures like inflation or GDP. We use data to measure it. Overstatement or understatement, of course, can occur. Why? Because the data we use may be less accurate or imperfect, which most likely they are. Our last discussion is about this concept, purchasing power parity or PPP. Parity means equality, so with PPP, $1 can be used to buy the same quantity of goods elsewhere. Relative price of the goods between two countries will be none, or the real exchange rate is equal to 1, as arbitrage process will vanish price difference in either currency. Price of the goods in US dollar will be the same in both countries. If it is measured in rupiah, the price will also be the same. Okay, let's see the illustration. To simplify the calculation, again we're treating US as our domestic economy and Indonesia as foreign economy. Suppose we have prices of Big Mac in US and in Indonesia like this. Then with $10, we can buy 2 units of Big Mac in US by this calculation. How about in Indonesia? With purchasing power parity, the same amount of dollars can buy the same number of Big Mac in Indonesia. So if $10 is converted to rupiah, we will have rupiah as much as 10 times the nominal exchange rate, E. And the converted dollars will have exactly the same purchasing power in Indonesia. In other words, this equation will hold. From the equation, we get E, the nominal exchange rate, equals to foreign price per domestic price, which is 8,000 rupiah per dollar in our case. Accordingly, real exchange rate will be equal to 1, as E times P, the numerator, is 40,000 rupiah, while P start, the denominator, is also 40,000 rupiah, meaning that if Big Mac is sold in US dollar, 1 unit of Big Mac will cost $5 in both countries. If it is sold in rupiah, the cost in both countries will also be the same, 40,000 rupiah per unit. From the nominal exchange rate equation, it is clear that whenever either price changes, nominal exchange rate will also change. Domestic and foreign price in our example is using price of a specific commodity, Big Mac. In other situation, we may use CPI in United States and in Indonesia. The merit of using Big Mac is, of course, since the basket of goods is identical, make the comparisons of purchasing power of people in the two countries is more relevant. However, it may not be able to capture the whole picture like if we rather use the CPI. So, is using the CPI the solution? Unfortunately, no. Using CPI is not perfect either and can even be worse because baskets of goods used in calculating CPI in US and in Indonesia are most likely different. We then cannot have an apple-to-apple comparisons. Okay, what are the other limitations of purchasing power parity theory? From the textbook, we can observe 2 of them. First, arbitrage simply could not happen for certain commodities as they are not easily traded across borders. Second, even if they are tradable, the goods are not perfect substitute for their foreign counterparts. Thus, real exchange rate is not equal to 1 as the PPP suggests. It fluctuates. Then, can we just simply abandon the PPP theory? Of course not. PPP is a theory, so no, it won't be 100% accurate, but the logic is relatively persuasive when explaining exchange rate in the long run condition. Real exchange rate in reality does fluctuate, but in favor of PPP theory, the fluctuation is small and temporary, especially in the long run, while the large and persistent movements in nominal exchange rate, as suggested by the PPP theory, typically reflect changes in domestic and foreign price levels. Higher foreign inflation tends to lead to domestic currency appreciation, whereas higher domestic inflation tends to depreciate the currency. There are many models to determine the exchange rate. PPP is just one of them, but it is considered the best in explaining the long-term trends in the exchange rate. Many analysts also use PPP to really compare the purchasing power between countries. The others also use PPP to evaluate whether current exchange rate of domestic currency is overvalued or undervalued. Okay, that's all from me now. Hope you understand all the basic concept of the open economy. See you in the next presentation and the next topic in basic macroeconomics. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.